Hey guys, welcome back to the Bible.
It's a podcast where we take your questions and our questions and we go back to the Bible to see what God has to say about it.
Today we're missing Julieta,
Yeah.
so I guess I'll do her part for her. But I'm Lisette,
I'm Kaylin.
and then today we're gonna talk about our mindsets.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm excited. I mean, coming from the two college students, again, Julieta's not here.
finals week. Julieta hasn't even had her first finals
She
week
hasn't
yet.
had her first finals week,
Yikes.
so prayers for her. I think she has it, next week?
No, but finals
the
week
week
in
after?
high school is nothing like finals week as college.
It is not.
In college, it's easier.
It's easier. Okay.
It's
Easier
easier because I don't have that many.
because I don't have that many as well, and it's easier to plan your, like, if you take online classes, you can schedule your finals according to your schedule. You just
Yeah.
have to like do it by a certain day. However, at least for me, like they're a little bit more complicated because you don't have to. You don't have.
You
to
actually have to know what. Well, depending on what your class you're
Depending
taking.
the class, it is intense. Like
Yeah.
it's at least for me. My most stressful final was my bio final, my bio 2 final. It took a lot out of me because it's at least for bio 2, like it's a lot of like intricate details, a lot of names and like for high school they split it up. It's like one class takes a whole year.
Yeah.
You're learning a whole year in
With
4
the
months.
stuff. I still have yet to see anything that I learned in high school and college.
Facts. But it's literally all of that is all of the knowledge that you learn in a whole year that you take multiple tests and you take your time in high school. It all gets condensed into 4 months and then you get
Yeah.
tested on those 4 months. And it's intense because at least for my classes, none of my teacher they don't give us study guides. They don't give us
Oh.
practice tests. They don't it's kind of like
You're unlucky.
these are kind of the topics, but good luck.
Oh, my math teacher, he gave us for college algebra and for trig, both of them gave me a 50-question study guide.
I've noticed for math that they do that, but for science classes or like English classes and stuff like that, it's either write the paper and
I
Like,
didn't have a final.
my English final, it was writing a 7+ page research paper.
Mine was only 5,
We
and I did
did-
4, and she gave me full credit.
I mean, we did it throughout the course of the year, but it was intense because yes, you submit it once, like your rough draft, and then you get your feedback. But then, like, if it's not according to what the professor wants, you get your points taken off, and then your final grade, and then like same thing with bio. Like, it's just like it's a lot more intense. It's
yeah.
at least it's more nerve-wracking for me. In high school, it was chill.
Yeah.
And also in high school, like, you had your test specific days, and it's not to say that I wasn't stressed.
They were
Like,
also
I was stressed.
yeah, your finals were also worth a lot less in
They were
high school.
at least for my English final, my 7+ page research paper, that was worth like a fat chunk of my grade.
But all of my finals, I only had one final exam, but I had a research paper that we started working on like a month before the semester ended.
Our research paper,
Yeah.
we started doing it the entire semester, like doing all the
Oh.
research and stuff. However, the actual writing of it was like 3 weeks before the semester ended.
She literally was like, okay, find your person, send me your links, and get writing. And she didn't care. The most, what I got the most points off for was my MLA format, which doesn't make any sense because I used the word one, but
Yeah.
it's whatever. I mean, I passed the class with an A anyways. I didn't care.
I did
But-
too. At the end of the day, like, teachers are understanding. However, it is very stressful. Regardless if you're in college or in high school, it is very intense.
Yeah. And, so when I had my trig final, I was so confident. I was doing so good. I didn't do good. I got a pretty ugly grade.
That's happened to me with various
Yeah.
tests where I think I'm doing great. Like my test, I'm like, oh, I did so good.
No. And well,
did
the
not
worst
good.
part is that I could see it once I turn it in.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw that on the online point part, I got a 33. I was like, I'm grits. And I was so worried because, so I did, remember at FLA when everyone was, sharing that link where it was like, oh, put your, test score, potential test score, how much it weighs.
Oh yeah.
So
In
I was,
Canva?
20%.
Or Canvas.
And it was, yeah, well, that too. But there was, a website that I kept using to put my what if grade. And I put, a 40%. and it said that my grade would get to a 70, and a 70 is passing.
Yeah.
So when I saw 33, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna fail this class.
Oh.
But I got a 77. I mean, it's a C regardless, because in college they don't care about percentages. But
Yeah.
I'm so glad that I passed with a big margin instead of a small one.
Yeah.
And that's like what kind of made me think is that I need to start changing the way I think, because I let the negative control my brain. I mean, I get over it the next day,
Mm-hmm.
but for that whole day, I'm on edge. I'm like, oh my god.
Honestly, same thing happens to me where like on test days I get so nervous.
Yeah.
Like I like my friends at school, like if when I go to study, I just put in my headphones and I don't talk to anybody before and after the test,
I have to
because
study in silence.
I need to study with music. I will listen to, which I started doing this semester, and it has worked tremendously. I started with listening to worship music because
Ooh.
I realized while I studied that I get really nervous and I get test anxiety for tests. So I'm not the best test taker. I've gotten better at it. I'm not the best test taker. So I've learned that like going into the like you were saying, going into the test, if you have a bad mindset of like I just need the lowest grade possible in order to pass, like you're going to get that lowest grade.
Yeah.
You're not going to get the best grade, but when you put yourself in a positive mindset, it works. And I realized that for me personally, the first thing is not only just praying about it, but also listening to worship music. And I just play my worship music, and I'm listening to music, but I'm not listening to music because I'm usually
Yeah.
like on a whiteboard or like reading or like on my laptop and stuff. But I realized that has really helped my mindset when it goes to when I'm about to take my test,
Yeah.
because I feel much more at peace and I feel more I feel more calm to take it.
Yeah.
But test anxiety is real, and honestly, just a bad mindset is very common.
Yeah. And well, also, so for my college algebra final, as soon as I received that paper, the first thing I did was pray.
Mhm.
I got a 93 on that final.
Mhm.
Then, with my midterm for trig, the first thing I did when I logged into the computer before I started the test was pray.
Mhm.
I was so overwhelmed on the final one that I forgot. And I knew that I forgot when I opened the first question, and I forgot what I had studied.
Oh.
I was like, darn it. So I prayed about it. I was like, okay, I might have forgotten, but at least let me remember some of it.
Yeah.
Some of it, please. And then, I mean, I knew what I was doing. It's just,
The nervous.
I just
The
got it
nerves. I
wrong.
mean, I've always thought like, oh, like God's got me. I don't really need
Yeah.
to study. God's got me. That was my mindset for some time until I hit harder classes, and even in high
Yeah.
school when I hit like junior senior year where classes get harder and college classes are hard. Like tests are. It's not just like, oh, memorize this. It's know the concepts
Yeah.
and figure it out.
you have to know it. They won't even drop hints.
They
Just
don't.
The question.
And
What's this?
specifically for my biology 2 class, it was 50 multiple choice. All of our tests were 50 multiple choice except for our final was 65 questions.
Okay.
And those 50, like out of the multiple choice, there was one that was completely wrong, and then the other 3, like they were slightly different, or like one of them was slightly different, but you could tell it was wrong. And then out of the last 2, they were both correct, but one was more correct than the other. Tell me how you tell me how you
Great.
do that. And you have to know your concepts. And it like I always thought like, oh yeah, like I'll just pay attention in class and I'll pray about it. But it came to the realization that God will help you, but he will help you in the things that you have done and
Yeah.
what you have studied. I realized that like I still need to study, and God will remind me everything that I studied. And I know that if I pray and I ask him for the peace of mind and the peace of heart, he will help me. But I still need to do my part. I
Yeah.
still need to study. And when it comes to mindsets, like knowing, at least for me, knowing that I had God on my side and I knew that at the end of the day everything was going to be okay, it helped me. And even though like after tests, you could ask Hazel, you could ask any of my classmates, like I
Yeah.
walked out of there silent.
Something that I tell myself when I'm studying is just like, I'll study and God will take care of the rest. If I don't spend my whole time thinking about how am I gonna make sure that I'm good for this on the test, and I just learn it, I notice that I perform better and I feel less overwhelmed. Like before, like in high school, I would cram everything in like the day before, like 2 days before. But now I started taking my time with actually learning the questions 2 weeks ahead. so that by the time the final does roll around, I have no reason to not have known what I was doing. So I'm always like, I'm gonna study these questions, learn them, and then it will be God's will what grade I decide to get on the test, as long as I do my part. Which is like, I feel like during that whole, because I was just so overwhelmed for a bunch of random, and it's like little nonsense, like stuff that actually genuinely I had no reason to be worried about. So like that whole week, it was just kind of rough.
Yeah.
And I feel like me getting that low grade wasn't really a punishment, but it was more like you need to start seeing the good in the bad, because that whole week I was so focused on all the terrible things that like could have been happening, or the stuff that was, like bugging me or whatever, or like it was just I don't even remember what they were that week. So that's how insignificant they were. And it was like, it wasn't taking a toll on my health, but it became like the only thing that I thought about. And usually, like, I try to at least see the bad or the good, not the bad and good, the good and the bad. And that whole week, I just wasn't doing that. And I feel like me getting that low grade and seeing that even though I did bad in the class, I still passed, was something that I needed to start looking for the good.
Yeah.
The bad. Like, just because something bad happened to me doesn't mean that God wanted that bad thing to happen to me. It just means, like, he allowed it to happen for a reason, which is what I started telling myself even more. And I was just so overwhelmed. I was like, what is going on? And so I wrote a whole list of things that I needed to be happy about and things I needed to be stressed about. My list of happy was like 8 points, and then my stress was like 2 things.
Yeah.
So like I was like take the stress off of me. I don't know why I'm so concerned about it. Like I was praying about it all the time, like hello. And then like I kept praying about it, and I started to see that the things that I was worried about, they started fixing themselves, or there were solutions to them, or I was figuring it out, or I just forgot about it.
Yeah.
And like that's what I like. Well, I usually like I try to keep up with the, just because it happened doesn't mean it's the worst thing in the world. There's always a solution to everything, and God will provide a solution if he wants a solution for it.
Honestly, the beginning of this year, the first like 2, 3, kind of 4 months, April 2, I was very overwhelmed, like very anxious, very stressed out. And it wasn't just like, obviously finals week for us was what, last week or a couple days ago, depending when you watch this. But I was so overwhelmed. There's so many things happen, so many new things, so many old things, and everything was just coming to the surface, problems, solutions, and like everything was just getting dumped at one time. And I felt like I was overwhelmed. I didn't know. I was so stressed out. I cried a few times, and like and it wasn't even like, oh, like I'm upset. It's just like I don't know where to start. And that like it stressed me out. And I like your pros and cons list, because I should have done something similar, but I did do something similar. I recommend for anybody that's feeling overwhelmed, write down your prayers. I started writing down my prayers and like listing out what I'm worried about, and then not only have it like a mental checklist, but also like a prayer list. Have God, and like purposely have God look at it and like kind of like make it known and make it into the existence. And I know that God helped me through it. Yeah. And it wasn't even that like, oh, something big, someone magically showed up in my life and just fixed. No, it wasn't like that. But it helped me see that sometimes my mindset and sometimes like me telling myself that I was overwhelmed made the situation worse. Yeah. And I know that now that I look back, I still have the list in my notes app, and when I look back, I'm like, oh. Yeah. But like but for this problem, this thing happened, and for that thing, like, we're still waiting on it, but there's a solution coming. Or, I got that big assignment done, and like the relief that I had after praying about it and writing it down was very big. I think that's one of my biggest advices to anybody listening. If you're feeling overwhelmed, write it down. Pray about it. Mainly pray about it. And my words, I think I mentioned this in an episode previously. I'm not sure, but probably my word for the year, I chose a word for the year, and it was endurance. And we did talk about I think we did talk about it. And I know that like after the first couple months, it kind of just like that kind of just hit me in the head. Like, your word was for endurance, so don't give up. Yeah. And now that like we're done with our first year of college, looking back and like looking towards the future, I still have 5 more years to go. The thought of that alone overwhelms me. And like knowing the classes I have to take the next semester, knowing the things that are gonna come in the next couple months, like it puts me in a bad mood. Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, this is going to be so stressful. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be out. I don't know when I'm going to have time for myself. I don't know when I'm going to have time for things. But the word endurance comes to mind, and
Yeah.
take it slow. There is a solution, and God will help you through it all, you know?
Yeah. Like, so since this semester started, I have started trying to keep up with thanking God for everything. Now, a lot of times, like, in the morning, I'll wake up late for school. Like, sometimes I'll, like, forget to, like, what I've been trying to, like, do, even if it's just in my head, when I wake up, I'm like, thank you, God, for waking me up today, or wake me up on time. Or even if I slept in, thank you for letting me get extra sleep, you know? Like, even, like, sleeping in sucks, especially when you have things to do, but you needed that sleep. Then I'm energized throughout the whole day instead of being groggy and giving everyone a thing. So, like, since fall, I, like, try to, every single time that I remember, thank God for something positive that had happened, that they're happening in the moment. And, like, that, I mean, it flowed into now, but the past couple weeks have been terrible. Like, for the first time, I haven't cried to worship music since I got rebaptized. I teared up almost once. And I was like, no. And when that happens, I feel, when that does happen, I feel like it's just me having some type of disconnect. So I prayed about, I was like, thank you for, even though I feel like the whole world is ending right now, thank you for the things that are going well.
Yeah.
You know, and I've noticed that when I do remember to thank him for the little things, the big things don't seem so big anymore.
Yeah.
Like, everything to me, it feels like the same size, whether it's good or bad or, you know, fantastic.
I think in the Bible, there's a lot of stories of people who praise God in the midst of a storm. And I really like I think we talked about this before that we started recording, but the first person that comes to mind is Esther. And I think not only is she a great female from the Bible, one of the few ones that are, like, very highlighted in the Bible, but what I like about her is that she had peace throughout it. And for those who don't know the story, she was a young lady. The king's wife got kicked out.
Yeah.
And so he was looking for wives. Esther got chosen. She ended up being appointed to be the king's new wife. And there was a thing, though. She was a Jew, and the king didn't like the Jews. So he, like, there's a lot of, like, little drama here and there. I guess another day we can go in depth of her story and kind of, like, see what else we could learn from her story. But at the end of the day, the king had made an order to execute, or at least they were trying to kill all the Jews. Yeah. And she had asked the king, or she had asked her people to go on a fast for 3 days. Now, that means her friends, her family, everybody in her circle were facing death.
Yeah.
They were facing persecution. However, she still remained faithful, and I'm sure she was overwhelmed. Like, the idea of my family will die, and it's because my husband is going to kill, you know, like, because, and he didn't know. You know, like, I don't think he was aware of what that plan is, but still God used that stress, and God used that into a positive way.
Yeah.
For me, it's a great story of strength. It's a great story of, I can do this, because even though I'm scared, even though I'm facing something big in my life, a huge challenge, I can still have faith to overcome it. And I do have faith, and I can do it. Another person is David. I was about to say Daniel. But David.
Yeah.
When he's about to face Goliath. Sometimes when I'm in front of my problems, I feel tiny. Yeah. I feel tiny like
Goliath
David.
is my problem.
And I have Goliaths of problems, like problems size, Goliath-sized problems.
There we go.
I feel like I have Goliath-sized problems, and in hindsight, they may be dumb, but at the moment, I feel tiny, and I don't feel like I'm able to overcome it. However, have faith. Yeah. Be patient, and know that God is still working in your favor, and he's still going to help you through that battle, and you're not alone going through that problem.
Yeah.
But both Esther and David had something different. They had a positive mindset. Going into their battles, they knew that God was going to be there and show up for them, so they weren't stressed out about it. They weren't nervous about it.
And they had, like, actual life or death scenarios. Like, we have, my little final is happening next week. Like, that's what the problems we face. The problems that they faced, and they still remained faithful and still found a way to thank God, even though Esther's whole family was on the line right now. David was fighting a giant. Every single time I think of David Goliath, I think of the VeggieTales episode.
Yeah.
But he was this massive. What are they? Pepinos?
A pickle.
Oh, he was a pickle.
He is a pickle.
A massive pickle. Like he's fighting a massive pickle, and it's still like in his head, this is nothing because he knows he can overcome it.
And the other thing is the people around them doubted them.
Yeah.
Everybody around them doubted them, or doubted David, but David still had faith. He still had faith. He didn't need people's approval to have faith in God.
And he had a rock, and he knew that rock was gonna kill him one way or another.
Five little stones. Yeah. 5 little. That is just a lot of encouragement to me, because going into the next semester, boy oh boy, is it gonna be difficult. And maybe our some of our listeners aren't college students. Maybe they're high school students. Maybe they're facing a new phase of life, facing marriage, kids. I don't know what you're facing.
And to them, like, losing a friend is that big pickle.
Yeah.
That little Junior was fighting. Or
it's anything can be that big obstacle. Honestly, anything. However, it's all about changing your mindset and reminding yourself that God has a bigger plan through that issue. And
you still need to thank him. Like, even though you think that your whole world is ending and that he's allowing it all, he has a reason to allow it. So thank him.
Thank him through the process, because at the end of the day, I'm glad I went through all of that stress and overwhelmingness at the beginning of the month.
Yeah.
Or at the beginning of the year, because that helped me get through these couple months, and I know it's going to help me get through the rest of the year. And did it suck? Yeah.
Yeah.
Crying sucks. You know, like feeling down on yourself, feeling that overwhelmingness
yeah, I think that's right.
Overwhelmingness.
Feeling overwhelmed, yeah.
Feeling overwhelmed sucks. And feeling that anxiety sucks. However, if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't know how to deal with it in the future. And I thank God every day because I went through that. Not only just now, but for the rest of my life and for every situation I've gone through. Does it suck? Yeah. But looking towards the future, like, I know those lessons will help me in the future.
And also, like you were saying, like, once you deal with that and you learn to thank God through that, the next time that anything like that happens, you already know what to do. God will solve the problem if you trust him and if you remain focused on him. If you don't remain focused on him, you're not going to realize the changes that he's making. And one thing that I have started doing too, ever since working at the hospital, I have a million interactions with patients. And, like, remembering patients, like, remembering their name and face, even though it's so sad that they're there, it's so sweet. Because you're like their little friend. You're the only person that you see that isn't there to talk about their health.
Yeah.
You know? So I've had a couple interactions that, like, really, like, rubbed me a certain way. And I thank God for those interactions. Like, I took a patient out of imaging, and he was like, I feel healed. And I was like, I'm glad. You know, that's fantastic to hear. I mean, I don't know what kind of stage he was in before. I'm like, great. He's like, yeah. Like, well, he saw my necklace, and he was like, you're Christian? And I was like, oh, I'm Seventh-day Adventist. He was like, oh, I used to be Seventh-day Adventist too. And I was like, well, why'd you change? He was like, oh, you know, I felt more, like, in place with being just a Christian. I was like, okay, it's your life. That's fine. And he was like, yeah, but I feel like God healed me. And I was like, okay. I mean, you're in the hospital. You're supposed to be getting healed. He was like, and I was like, well, that's great. Like, I'm glad you're feeling better. He's like, no, that's not what I mean. Like, downstairs, the hospitality that I felt with all of these people, it felt like they were treating me like I was their family. And I could see God in all of them. Wow. And I could feel that God was there with me. And I was like, I'm thinking about it, like, I'm tearing up. Like, that guy, like, he almost brought me to tears. I was like, oh, my gosh. And then I was like, wow. Like, even when this guy is probably dealing with the worst thing he could have possibly ever dealt, he feels healed simply by the way that he was treated. And he's thanking God for those interactions that he had with nurses that are helping him get better. It's awesome. And, like, and I thanked God for that, too. Is I'm like, this guy here, like, he feels healed simply by feeling God's helping hand.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And I was like, I started thanking him for the interactions. And this verse that I found that kind of describes, like, what I'm trying to remind myself to do now, especially at work. Like, I see so many patients that are in terrible condition. And, like, in my head, like, I don't sit there at the door and do a long prayer. But, like, when I drop them off in their room, I'm like, please help them, you know?
Yeah.
Or, like, when it rubs me away where I'm like, they really need a prayer, I do too. Like, there was a patient that she's Cuban. She was Cuban. She's like, I haven't seen a Cuban lady in this hospital before. And I was like, oh, here I am. And she was like, pray for me, please. And I was like, I will. And I prayed for her that same night. And I'm pretty sure she got discharged the
Wow.
next day or like a couple days later because I hadn't seen her. And I saw her in the beginning of the week. I didn't see her after that.
Mm-hmm.
So in that room, I ended up admitting a patient to that room.
Oh wow.
She got discharged. And there was another patient took her out of surgery. And she was just, she was crying. She was scared that she was going to die. And I was like, no, like, I can't tell you that you're going to survive because I don't know.
Yeah.
But the nurses, they're going to do everything in their power. And I prayed for her. And a week later, she was doing better. She got discharged. And, like, I
Wow.
thank God for interacting with those people because it kind of humbles me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these people are facing the scariest challenges they've ever faced. And especially, like, that guy. And they still find a way to talk about God to me and, like, focus on him. Like, so when I brought him to his room, he had the book, like, what, Child Armor of God? There's a book like that. And, well, there was, like, a knight on it. And it said God on the cover. And he had it posted up on his little couch facing him.
Wow.
I was like, wow. Like, even where people are literally facing life or death, their main priority is to thank God.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I need to start doing that. And I thank God for those interactions because they remind me that I need to start thanking him more. Even if my problems seem big to me, there is always a problem that's more severe that can hit me at any moment. Like, these people are facing life or death, and I'm over here crying over getting a bad grade.
Test grade.
Yeah. Like,
I mean,
at any moment, I could end up like them too. And if I'm crying over a test grade, I'm forgetting to thank God. Well, how am I going to remember when I'm actually facing a real problem like that?
yeah.
So I'm like, thank you for giving these interactions to, like, humble me. And so this is Romans 8, verse 6. The mind governed by flesh is death, but the mind governed by spirit is life and peace. And every single time I thank God over the little things that I'm seeing here and there, I always feel, like, content and more at peace. I'm like, thank you for showing that thing that reminded me to thank you.
Yeah.
For all the blessings I have in my life. And even if I think that these things are going wrong, I know that focusing on the bad will either help me overcome it or bring me the solution.
Mm-hmm. And God is everywhere. She shows up in everything. And I think when you have the right mindset, when you have the right, mindset going through it, you will see God in everything. And that helps everything come together. It helps everything smooth over. And I guess for this week or for the day that you are watching this, that is our advice to you guys. Keep that God mindset. No matter what you're going through, no matter what situation, tough thing you're facing, turn your eyes to God and thank him for the situation that you're going through, but also ask him for help. He's there to help you. He's there to lend a helping hand, even if it's sending people to comfort you in your worst moments. He will remind you that he is there for you, and if that is what you need, he will give it to you. Yeah. He's walking through those battles with you, and even though we may seem overwhelmed or stressed or intimidated by what's coming next, God will help us through it, and no matter what, like, he is with you. Yeah, and on top of that, like, we also sometimes will get so used to, like, the way our life is going that we won't realize that even the smallest things can be the biggest blessings you've ever run into. Mm-hmm. So just keeping up with God and, like, remembering that everything that you have is because of him. Also, it helps your mindset so much too. Absolutely. And it helps you feel so relieved and not feel overwhelmed by all these little things that are coming at you, you know? God is an intentional God, and we're blessed, honestly. And I'm thankful for the way that he works in my life, and how I know that he will work in the future. Yeah. So that's about all. Yeah, I guess that's our episode for today. If you liked it, please hit the like button and let us know how you liked it. Let us know how you've seen God this week, and if there's anything we can pray for you, or if you're facing a tough battle, let us know. We are here for you guys, as well as I know that you guys are praying for us. And I guess we'll see you guys next time. And you can always comment your questions. If you want, please. Comment some things that you do that help you, feel better about the hardships that you're facing. That way you guys can kind of read each other's comments. And absolutely. And not only just for them, but for us too, because we face problems too. You can also follow us on Instagram. You can find us there. Or if you're watching this on Spotify, we're on YouTube. And if you're watching this on YouTube, we're on Spotify. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and till next time. Yeah. Bye. Now that I work full time, Fridays are like my reset days, and I'm not cleaning on a Sunday, so I just don't clean. I have my little pile of laundry. No, I do my laundry Sunday nights. Mm-hmm. I did my laundry today. Or Fridays. I haven't done my laundry since I left for Utah. That's actually 3 weeks ago.
It was so much ropa that it didn't dry on the first cycle.
No way.
I have to make my eye appointment now that you tell me. I have eye insurance now.
Hey.
It's beach waves.
So aesthetic.
You know, I saw a TikTok of a baby putting their seatbelt.
Mail showed me the same TikTok
That
where
crap was
it
so
had it around
funny.
the face.
Yeah.
I saw the same
They put the
TikTok.
take me to the king. I used to do that as a kid. I can't even blame him. But not to, like, just sit there. Like, I just was like, what would
Playing
happen?
around with.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's been a long time. Are you camera shy now? Speech
No,
in
okay.
class has taught me to not be camera shy. I literally woke up and recorded my final. I didn't know it was going to get peer reviewed. I was wearing Nike gray shorts with my camo hoodie, and I literally just woke up, like, de me cepillé los dientes, nothing. With my toes hanging out, and Johnny got my video.
No way. No way. No freaking way.
She posted the peer review assignment right after I turned it in, like 10 minutes later. I was like, dang it. But oh well,
It's okay.
semester's over. I mean,
It is what it is.
Johnny has seen me since the day I came on my mom's stomach. So,
Oh.
well, I saw Johnny come out. I saw Johnny first because I was born first.
It is what it is.
So it doesn't matter. But I was just like, oh my god. And Johnny made a whole like diagram for what his thing was about. And
No way.
And I showed him just me standing in the frame. He started laughing at me. He was like, that's so ghetto. I was
This
like,
is why I took it in person. So I could just get it out of
Oh.
the way.
And online it was so easy because I put a teleprompter behind my phone and I would just read off of it. And she
Oh,
never
that's- yeah.
noticed. I had to do a 7-minute speech. I teleprompted the whole thing. I was not memorizing all that.